This is Modern Mindset, the show that picks the brains of the world's leading minds to help you unlock yours. I'm your host, Adam Cox, and joining me today, we have two very special guests. We have Larry and Taylor Thompson, who are authors, they are network marketers, they are gurus, they are a power couple, but equally, they are very humble and very keen to share their experience. Welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you so much.
Glad to be here with your audience.
It's fantastic. So just before we started recording, you were giving me a bit of a snapshot into how you got started in this kind of exciting adventure, this journey that you've been on. And it seemed like you came from very, very humble beginnings, Larry, to become a bit of a mover and shaker in the network marketing industry and take that knowledge. But tell us how it all began.
Wow, it's a very fascinating story for me, and I get to tell it a lot because I love it, and I was the least likely candidate in the world to do anything except do construction work. I grew up in construction work. I never finished high school. We're coming here from the UK, but high school here in America, I only got to like the 12th grade, not the 12th grade, the 13th grade, opposite. Now you can see I can't even count. Now you know why I didn't graduate from high school, okay? That's what I'm really trying to say. And the reason was, Adam, is that I was very shy. And I could always tell someone the color of their shoes, but not the color of their eyes. And I was very, very, very shy. And then you had to graduate from high school, you had to be able to do an oral book report, okay? Where you read the book, you write about it, and you talk about it in front of your classmates. Today, they don't even have to know how to read to graduate, but it was different back then. I read the book and I wrote it up, but I couldn't walk across the stage in front of my classmates and give it. I was too shy. And that happened 2 years in a row. I couldn't do it. So I was never going to finish high school. And so the day I became 16 was the day that I could quit that part of my education. And I quit one day, and the next day went to work in construction work. And I loved it. I work with my family, my dad, my brothers, my cousins, my uncles. It was a guy deal. And it was something that we enjoyed. It was something I was good at, and I liked it. And it never occurred to me to think about doing anything else. I was happy. But I got that fateful phone call that one night that changed everything. And it was very interesting because it came from another construction worker. It was Mike Fuller. Mike was a little bit older than the team that I worked with, but he had a couple of duplexes that he owned besides his house that he rented out. That was a big deal, for construction work. That's big. And the biggest thing was he always had money for the lunch truck on Thursday, and we were always borrowing money from him, to carry out our lunch and stuff. So when he called me up that night, I was excited about it, not because of the opportunity, because he said, we're going to go over to the Hyatt Hotel in San Jose, California. Now, what's fascinating about that for me is that I used to drive by that doing construction. It was on a real funky intersection, First Street and 101, and it was a very fancy hotel back then. And they had that porte cochere, where you drive your car underneath and they open your doors. And it was a big deal to me, especially being a long-haired hippie, because I had really long hair. And back then, very few people, they'd heard about hippies, but not too many had seen one. But I was a working hippie, you know what I mean? So I had some credibility. But he said, we're going to go to the Hyatt Hotel. And I got excited because I'd never been in a hotel in my life. And I loved this concept of getting down there. So I said, listen, Mike, call me back in 10 minutes and I'll tell you if I'm going or not. And I wanted to go, but it's my first hotel in my life. And I was having a bad hair day, and I had to figure out, can I make this baby look good enough to represent properly? And anyway, we went to that meeting, and there were several things that happened. It was fascinating that night. Number one thing that happened, nobody wanted their guests sitting next to me, okay? Because it was like, you might as well have had it's like having your best prospect, your negative brother-in-law is accountant and a lawyer in a room, and someone with a little cart, and the homeless guy comes in with a cart with a little tent and sits down next to your brother-in-law. And so nobody wanted me in that room at all. But I will tell you, two significant things happened that night that changed my life forever and ever and ever. Okay. And it wasn't the opportunity. Okay. The opportunity was just the justification. What got me was the people I met. And the person just conducting that meeting that night was a gentleman by the name of Bobby DePue. Bobby DePue is original architect of strategy and tactics and network marketing. And that's captured in the book because we have a whole history of network marketing starting in 1943. And he was given a meeting, and Bobby used to be a school teacher, and he had a very unique way of communicating. He was a very frail guy, about 5'9", maybe 165, 70 pounds, something like that, very soft-spoken. And he had the ability to make me, the way that I was so out of place in that meeting room, because it was 3-piece suits, cigar smoking, whiskey drinking, white shoes, Cadillac driving environment. I mean, I don't know if that makes as much sense in the UK as it does over here, but that was a profile. And then there's me. But he actually, I felt like I was the only one in the room. And he just kind of drew me in. And it's like it was like a magnet for both of us. And he said something at the end of that meeting that really hooked me right in. He says, listen, it's obvious that we're making a lot of money here. You can all tell that. He said, and I'd like to promise you that you guys can make this money, but I can't. But I can promise you we are. And I can promise you if it turns out only 10% for you, what has turned out for us, it's going to be the greatest thing that ever happened to you. Now, that got me. I'm the long-haired hippie that never finished high school, shy, all of that stuff. And I defaulted 90%. I gave that away because he gave me the authority to say if it only turns out 10% for you. I could, okay, maybe 10%. So that really gave me the confidence to want to try. The second thing that happened that night was another person I met for the first time, and a lot of your audience will probably know his name. He was there as a guest, and we both joined the same company called Best Line Products in 1968, the same product, the same company, same night, and it was Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn was there as a guest. We joined the same company, and Jim, Bobby wanted him to become the trainer for the company, and Jim said, listen, I'll come in, I'll build an organization, and then if it works out, I'll do that, because he wanted to be accepted by the field, by production, not by title, resume. And both of those guys took me under their wings for whatever reasons, and it took me years to figure it out. And I said, why are they paying attention to me? Okay. And it took me a while to build up to anything where I would solve relevancy to be able to get the attention that they were giving me personally. And it took me years to figure it out, but I can do now what they did with me back then. They saw in me desire. Okay. And desires were so much. Okay. They saw in me willingness to work and go through difficulties. And they saw me as being teachable. And they only have about a half a dozen things you really got to know our space. Okay, there's only about a half a dozen things that you got to know. And so they took me under their wings, and I worked with both of those individuals all the way up into their passing on many projects. And actually, we started Herbalife in 1980, and in 1985, I brought Jim Rohn in officially to be the vice president of training with us over there at Herbalife. And it's just been a fascinating experience for me. So I'm just a long-haired hippie construction worker with no education, no self-confidence, no self-esteem at that point. But because of a few simple principles that were shared with me over and over again, that was simple enough for the long-haired hippie to figure it out, it was able to move forward and do the things that have happened.
Mm. It's an incredible story, and amazing that you met Jim Rohn at that point of your life, being a teenager. The reason I keep a journal now is directly as a result of Jim Rohn's teaching. And I think he's an absolute legend in personal development. There is this big overlap, isn't there, between people that are in network marketing and this kind of industry of personal development. And I think it comes a lot from having to be self-sufficient, taking responsibility. What's the thing that you've kind of learned in yourself, developing yourself, that you found maps across well to the industry of network marketing?
Everything that they shared with me works directly and well in network marketing, like it does if you're an accountant, like you're a lawyer. There's only half a dozen things that you really focus in on. And one of the most important things for me was called self-leadership. Okay. We talk about leadership a lot, but it's mystical. You know what I mean? And you got to learn, no, I don't mean to be disrespectful. You don't have to learn how to walk on hot coals. If you had to do that, it ain't me. It isn't the stay at home. It isn't the people that's in the book of all these guys. We were all just regular people. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that, but it's not that complicated. And I was taught about self-responsibility, okay, and self-leadership. It was self-responsibility, okay, taking responsibility. It's an easy thing to say, but most people don't take responsibility for where they are. And you're a fan of Jim Rohn, also where you're not. Okay, you got to take responsibility for that. And self-discipline, okay, self-motivation, self-responsibility. Those are very important things that all of us already have in one or more areas of their life. I had those self-leadership skills as a cement worker, working in the construction field. I had responsibility, discipline, I had motivation. I had those things. The stay-at-home mom, whoever, the school teacher already has those self-leadership skills. If they can move it from if they have it in one area of their life, they just got to be able to move it over to another area of their life. They already have it. And that was the biggest thing that they passed on to me in controlling the attitude.
I would like to address that because, I think in this day and space, I think the self-leadership really has been lost. I think people get caught up so much in personal development that they think that's the magic dust. They think reading this book and watching this video, and they get so self-immersed in personal development, thinking that's what's going to catapult them to the next level of their business or whatever their focus or their journey is. But where the real personal development is in the activity. Because you can have all the personal development, you can read all the books, you can do all the stuff, but without applying any of it in the field through application, there is no growth. It's like it's
theory.
It becomes a theory at that point. And so I think people have been disillusioned to think, I got to learn more to do more. Yeah. And consequently, by taking that approach, they will try to learn more because they will take the path of least resistance because they don't want to do. They want to learn, but they don't want to do. And so there's a big difference in that, in the mindset and in the way Jim Rohn taught us versus what's being taught right now in our current environment.
Absolutely. Because the thing is, it's not enough. Like, nobody can learn to swim by reading a book. There's certain things you have to do, and I see that a lot. I looked at personal development not as information that you read that kind of gets you excited and makes you feel good, but almost like it's learning a martial art. Just by reading it or doing it once, you don't get it. You have to do it repetition. You've got to learn it in different environments. And it is about growth. It's about doing things out of your comfort zone, getting better, getting more competent, and then applying that in new areas. And I've never done network marketing, but I've got a big admiration for those people that do, because it's tough. It has a constant test of resilience, communication, relationship building, constant training, problem solving, sales, influence, all these different multi-skilled. And from the people that I've seen that are successful in network marketing, they're successful in lots of other things as well, because those skills, as you quite rightly say, Larry, they map across to lots of other areas as well. What would you say is the most transferable skill that if someone was good at network marketing would be very useful in other areas of their life as well?
I have to come back to burning desire, willingness to work, and being teachable. Okay, it's got to come down to that desire. And success in network marketing, we have a tendency to define success in network marketing as, I'm going to say, the Lamborghini bikini crowd. How big your houses are, how much bling you got on your fingers, 6-7-figure incomes. That's great. But network marketing is not about that. That's 5%. 80% of network marketing is successful, earning $500 to $1,500 a month on a consistent basis. Okay, that's where the real success is. I came out of that 500 to 50. Remember, I said I defaulted to the 10%. Every one of us that's in this book, we started out like that. We never believed it. We never thought that could happen. But success is in that 80% group that only wants that, and then 15% only want about 500 to 1,500 a week, and then others want 500 to 1,500 a day and an hour. Okay, so success isn't delineated by income. It's by consistency of application of getting the desire according to your own desire and willingness to work.
But I think that right there is really the missing element today. I mean, whenever whenever I started in the business, 28 years ago, I wanted mom care versus daycare. I was looking for an extra $800, and that was equivalent to me working full time and paying for daycare, right? And I was that person, right? I was that person, to Larry's point, because network marketing, in the way it was positioned with Larry, with me 28 years ago, it is the average person's best chance. And I was very fortunate to come into this same type of environment that he came into. I answered this ad, and they told me about this couple that was making $10,000 a month. Well, I, like Larry, defaulted to the 10%, because I was thinking, okay, well, they can make 10,000. I never saw myself making that kind of money in a million years. But I thought, if they can make that, surely I can make 800. I defaulted, right? So everybody starts out, whenever you create that kind of environment for the everyday person, the construction worker, the stay-at-home mom. Whenever you look at the contributors in the book here, Jeff Roberti, he's a contributor to the book. He started with Larry in Herbalife. He was a broke waiter. He's now known in the industry as the $100 million man. He's made more money in network marketing than anybody. And he started as a broke waiter. Look at Dan Stamen. They came to the same meeting. He was also a waiter, co-founder of World Ventures. You look at Rolf Sorg, founder of PM International. Most people would know who PM International is. He learned how to speak English. He was a mechanic. He learned how to speak English with Larry's training tapes, the Millionaire Training, right? So whenever you look at these contributors across the board, they were everyday people, just like probably maybe your listening audience. And to that point, whenever you create this kind of a learning kind of environment that creates an incubator for somebody to come in of average abilities, where they can grow up, where they can go, gosh, and their believability in themselves, where they can learn those briefcase of skills that we teach, those fundamentals, and then they can take those and learn how to, as a mom, apply it to my business, as a construction worker, apply it to your business. Because whenever Larry talks about the common thread, desire, you can't teach desire. You just can't. You can't teach willingness to work. You've got to be willing to get outside of your comfort zone, no matter who you are. Larry always uses this phrase that Jim Rohn taught us, for things to change, you got to change. Mm-hmm. For things to get better, you got to get better. Not your wife, not your boss, not your husband, not your kids. You have to get better. How do you get better? It's through the application. It's through the activity. You can't GPS a parked car. It's impossible.
You know what's fascinating about what the question you're asking, the answer Taylor just gave us here, is that you said it described it. You can't learn how to swim from reading a book or watching a video. Okay, you got to get in the water and you got to swim. Well, most people, as Taylor's saying here, they want to take the path of least resistance. They don't want to. They want to read, they want to talk, they want to get into community groups, they want to be patted on the back and tell them they're okay. Here's what I do know, okay? You don't have to get taller, okay, to have personal growth. You don't have to get shorter. You don't have to get younger. You don't have to get older. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You're good enough as you are. On page 110 here, there's a chapter in the book that says, you're good enough as you are right this minute. If that wasn't true, I wouldn't be here. Taylor wouldn't be here. These guys wouldn't be here. These ladies would not be here. Okay. And so so you don't have to get taller. You don't have to get shorter. You don't have to. You're good enough as you are. And just like you said here, if you want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, let's talk about Arnold, Mr. Universe, 6, 7 times, whatever it was. You can read every book he's got. You can not only read every book, you can watch every video. It's not going to change anything until you get in there and do this. Okay, you got to do this. That's where personal growth comes from, is taking the half a dozen things, and those half a dozen things overlap into almost every business, every enterprise that you can imagine, being able, that's your starting point. And that's what comes across here in the book. And we're really excited about what's happened here in what is happening. And more importantly, the focus back on self-responsibility, self-determination, motivation. You are tall enough, you are young enough, you are short enough right now. Just get in the game and get going. And if you have a little roadmap, it helps.
Whenever like one of the chapters in the book, you know, probably your listeners would like this. And you think about this millionaire training, this was Larry's as a VP of sales. I mean, Larry drove Herbalife to their first $1 billion in sales with these fundamentals, and this millionaire training was recorded in February of 1981 with no edits. And, you know, they debated on whether or not they were going to record it. And you think about 40 years ago, you didn't have handheld devices at your fingertips, technology to be able to be able to do that kind of thing. And fortunately, you know, they did. And it was the training, it was the audio that went in all the distributor packs. But it wasn't about where to go, what to do, what to say. It was about mindset. It was about how to employ yourself. You think about it, you know, as entrepreneurs, and you probably have a lot of your listeners are entrepreneurs, whether they're in network marketing or in business for themselves, traditional brick and mortar, it doesn't matter. How do you employ yourself, right? How do you become the boss and the bossy? If you don't know how to do, if you're used to taking orders from somebody else, then you need to learn how that mindset, how to hold yourself accountable to what you need to do to get your business, you know, your daily method of operation, right? Think about the mental projector. I mean, this is in the book. I mean, 40 years ago, most people didn't think about what they were thinking about. I mean, it's everywhere you look now, but 40 years ago, that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case where you like, if you don't like what's on your screen of life, you got to change the film and the projector. And so whenever, you know, there's a lot of people today, you know, and it's all this ties in together is whenever you think about people that are learning and they're out there trying to do better in their business, or they're trying to do better with their personal development, they think of it from a technique.
Yes.
You know, meaning where do I go? What do I do? And what do I say? But they don't learn the principle behind what they're doing, what they're saying, where they're going. They don't understand. And without that foundation, then it becomes mechanical. And it's just a theory. Hopefully that's communicating, like, because whenever you learn fundamentals, it doesn't matter how times change. It doesn't matter how marketing techniques come and go. If you learn fundamentals, you will change and evolve as the world changes and evolves.
And I think that's very important what Taylor's talking about, because we are always looking for the so-called magic dust. Okay. Again, tell me exactly what to do, exactly what, I'm your guy, right? Well, what happens if that works for you? You find someplace exactly where to go, what to do, and what to say, and it works for you. Okay. So now how are you going to build the foundation for your business? By teaching Taylor how to do that? What if she doesn't have the same personality? What if she doesn't have the same current life circumstances that prevents her from going there, doing that, and saying that? And you know what the biggest crime is? She now doesn't think she's tall enough, short enough, young enough, efficient enough. And she is. She's been taught a technique that doesn't fit with her current life circumstances at this moment. A sick baby, a mother that's just been diagnosed with cancer, a car that isn't working. Okay, we all have experienced all of those things in our life. Everybody has, any successful person has, and our current life circumstances changes by the day and by the hour. And if you're not building on core value fundamentals of whatever your profession is, whatever your career is, okay, you're building on something that's on sand. And if you build it on the rock of what's going on, then as life circumstances change, then people come down.
It's not just that, but it's also that there is a lack of congruency, because you see this sometimes with people that have been taught what to say and how to say it in customer service, you know, and they're saying the right words, but the meaning or the emotion isn't behind it. And people can see through that. But you're right. If there is a reason why, if the drive is there, if the desire is there, if the I guess the buy-in, the belief is there, then it kind of doesn't matter exactly what words you use, but you get the intention behind it. And there is that disconnect, I think, in a lot of people where they're kind of going through the motions and then very quick to complain if what they've been told to do doesn't work and doesn't kind of produce results. Because what this really comes down to, you know, in your book, in Jim Rohn's principles, is about taking responsibility and having the belief in your own abilities to kind of get somewhere and do something. You said right at the very beginning that you were very shy, very nervous. You know, was it the case that you had to get through that to get good, or when you got good, that changed that? What was it, the chicken or the egg?
I'm still shy.
He's still
I'm
shy.
still that way. You get me in my arena, which is, you know, what we're doing here now. I'm not, but you get me outside of that arena, I'm still that can't tell you, color your eyes kind of deal. You know, obviously I've grown beyond that. I don't mean to make fun of that, but I'm still that person. And I think everybody still is that person. We don't all of a sudden take off the suit and I'm Superman. That doesn't happen. Okay. We all fluctuate. Our desire fluctuates. Our willingness, it fluctuates. Our teachability fluctuates. We talked about 80, 15, and 5 here a little bit earlier in our space, where 80% of the people want the 500, 1,500 a month. 15% of them want that by a week, and others want that by a day. We think that once we get there, that we're there. But current life, the guy that's making 500, 1,500 an hour, his life circumstances change, and he may function as the strongest guy on the team today. But his current life circumstances might take him down from a 5%er to a 15% or 8%, 80%er because of current life circumstances. He's okay. He starts beating himself up or herself up because they're not functioning on that high level. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Universe, 5%er. Is he a 5%er today? I doubt it. He's probably maybe a 15%er. He can be whatever he wants to do, but it fluctuates. And we think that by the time we get the houses and the cars and the money, that here we're going to be. You're going to have the same problems that you had if you're making 500 to 1,500 a month or 500 to 1,500 a minute. You're going to have current life circumstances that affect what you do. So there's where the personal growth is applied. It isn't talked about. It isn't pointed to. That if you do it like me, you can have what I have. Okay, no, you're going to have what I have, ups and downs, ins and outs, and things always fluctuate.
The variable is how fast you deal with them.
Yes.
Right. I mean, to your point, you know, we teach, it's like, you know, what you were saying is how people connect, or like customer service, or how they're interacting with someone. They're using the words, but there's nothing behind the words because they don't understand why they're saying it. It becomes transactional. It becomes mechanical. But whenever you understand a concept, we teach a concept, it's called you, it, and them, where you as the person, whenever I'm having a conversation with you, I make you feel good about you no matter what, whether you buy or don't buy, whether you join my company or don't join my company, whatever it is, I'm having a conversation and I'm making you feel good about you. Right? I'm making you feel good about it, whatever it is. Is it buying my product? Is it joining my company? Is it starting my service? Whatever the it conversation is. But at the same time, I want to make you feel good about me for sharing it with you. And that concept alone, whenever people doing business as entrepreneurs understand even just the simple principles of that alone, now we can really make true connection. I mean, people talk about building relationships in business, and you know, we want to connect with people, but that's not accurate, because they want to, especially like on social media, it does become very mechanical. It does become very transactional. It does come across very inauthentic. But if you can bring in this principle or this concept in the conversation, you will win every time, and you will feel good about sharing what you have to offer. And more importantly, the person that you're sharing it with will feel good about you and will feel good about themselves, whether they do it or they don't. And that is really, for me, that's such a magical concept. No matter who you are, no matter what you do, and no matter what business you're in, even in your own personal life, you it and them applies with your relationships, with your children, with your spouse, with, you know, your friends. It applies the same.
Everything today, everything is too strong. A majority of things today that are in network marketing, on internet, on social media, are designed strictly, they talk about relationship, know, like, and trust, all that catchy stuff. All that stuff is real, but it's designed, what it's designed for is the opposite. It isn't about being able to know, like, and trust. It's about guiding them down in a so-called funnel to drive yes, 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 yes. Okay, so the person finally joins or not. And we talk about duplication on our space. In the last half a dozen years, there's been very little duplication. There's been more money earned in network marketing in the last half a dozen years than before, but it's been done by addition. It's been done by not duplication. It's been done by social media transactions to get people to transact, yes, buy, or do, or go. And what happens in that situation is they don't feel good about you and them. And they get, social media will give you high numbers of addition, very little duplication, because you can't get other people to really duplicate that. What we do, and what I've always taught, and what I was taught, it isn't about addition. It isn't about duplication. It's about multiplication, where you could have a conversation with your favorite waitress at 10 o'clock this morning having breakfast, and have a conversation and make sense to her that she can buy your product or be thinking about buying your product. Okay. And she can have a conversation with her favorite truck driver at 2 o'clock that afternoon. And the guy says, hey, I'm interested. I'd like to buy that. I'd like to join that. And then he can go and get 2 or 3 people without the so-called upline, 3-way, I will help you, I will mentor you. You're going to get addition out of that. Very little duplication. It's about multiplication. That's how you build billions. That's how you do this, is through multiplication. And it's almost something that has evaporated from the network marketing space, except by those handful of people that still understand how this happens. I don't know if that makes any sense at all.
No, it does. You know, it's kind of an element of dovetailing, isn't it? If you're naturally having conversations or communicating anyway, can you do that in a way to kind of generate interest or communicate something and create that kind of emotional connection, which is where it all comes from. From the outside in, you know, like I say, I've never done network marketing, but I know people that have, and I know people that are very successful in that space. But there is a perception that it's an industry of kind of selling to your friends and family. And sometimes the perception is that because you see very unique belief systems all collected in groups of people, there can be this perception that it's almost like a cult in many ways, because you get, you know, a group of people with not just beliefs, but high energy convictions. Do you think that's a fair assessment, or does anything look like a cult if you're not, you know, appreciative of their belief systems and what they're designed to do?
There's no question what you're talking about, this cult type feeling exists out there, because it's in, and what happens in a cult, okay? They isolate you from your parents or your children or your friends. They isolate you to control the thinking, okay? So there's an element of that goes into any successful enterprise, because you want them to kind of think alike, you want them to go down that path. But if it becomes that way, if it is transactional, it's designed for one thing, to get this person in this religion, or get this person in this methodology, or into this network marketing, and that's the purpose. Well, the purpose isn't to get people to buy or join. The purpose is to share your story, at every opportune moment, and either they want it or they don't, if it's shared with Taylor saying to you, it, and them. And that's very important that people feel good about that.
And I think that to me, that's really what's been lost, is that feeling of you, it, and them, where it does feel like it's transactional, where it's like, you know, they don't feel good about the person that's sharing it with them, you know, because if they don't buy or join, you know, then there's something wrong with them, or they're crazy or whatever. So I think, you know, whenever you change the perspective, so, I mean, whenever, you know, how we teach this you, it, and them concept, it's really about whenever if I'm truly sharing what my product or service, how it's impacted me and my life and my family, how this opportunity has really impacted me, or how it allowed me to have mom care versus daycare, you know. And listen, I don't know if it's going to be anything that you're interested in, but this is how it's impacted me so many times. So now I'm sharing it from a perspective, like, this is how I feel about it. And I don't know if it's something that you might want to do, but I just thought enough about you to let you know. it's no big deal if not, but if you are, I would love to share what I have because it could change your life too. So whenever, so many times you lose the perspective, they're sharing it. The person, if I'm sharing it to get a transaction, if I'm getting you to say the yes and I'm funnel, this will create resistance. That automatically creates resistance, is what we are seeing across the board in network marketing. But whenever you change the perspective and make it about the person that you're sharing it with, why wouldn't you want to share it with the people that you love and care about the most, whenever you really truly have their best interest at heart with the you, it, and them concept behind it? I think that's the missing element. And I think that's why the perception is so widely this resistance versus being attractive. And because the perspective that it's being presented. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah, because it's if people are too focused on what's in it for them, then it has to be transactional. But if there is that respect and sensory acuity, kind of pay attention, read their expressions, give them space if they need space, then you're going to create a feeling of trust that can exist in that, where you're not pressuring someone to doing something. There's obviously lots of benefits, and you both have probably know more about the benefits of kind of building the business and the relationships and growing the network. Each of you, what would you say is the biggest payoff or the biggest benefit that you've personally experienced from this kind of journey, this adventure that you've been on?
That's a very interesting question here, because most people will be thinking about how many people that they helped and all this stuff. It's what I've become in the process. Okay, I'm still the long-haired hippie construction worker. I'm still the guy that you get me outside of my expertise area, I'm still that same shy guy. Okay, but I can tell you that the biggest thing for me is realizing what I said earlier on page 110 of the book. You're good enough as you are. You're good enough as you are, and you can't. And we all can do it. We all can do whatever it is that we set our minds out to do, because there are only a few things that we have to learn. And so for me, is in seeing people become what they, and it isn't going from point A to point Z. It isn't. It's in and out, A, B, C, back to B, F, Y, Z. It comes back because our life continues to change constantly. And to be able to deal with that situation, as far as life is going to throw you curveballs every single day. I don't care who you are. And most people think, I get here, I achieve this rank in our space, or I get this pin in this case, or I get this house, everything is going to be fine. That's not how life works. Okay. Life throws us curveballs every single day, and how we deal with them. For me, I've got a few simple skills that were passed on to me that I passed on to a whole lot of other people. And every situation that I encounter almost on a daily basis, I got to apply that. I got to apply it. Okay. I don't have to like it, but I got to apply it. And also in this business, because we're talking about transactional, people get off when they get a train. I used to teach, when's the best time to talk to someone? After you just made a sale. Okay. Which is true. Okay. But let me tell you something. Okay. If the best time to talk to somebody is when you just talk to someone that feels good about you, it, and them, and they said no, or I don't want to buy, I don't want to join. Okay. Because if they feel good about it, when you're pointing your finger out here like this, and that environment of you, it, and them, guess what? They get the feel, to hear, and see that the you, it, and them one time. You get it 3 times back. You feel good about you feel good about what you brought them, and you feel good about their answer, yes or no, no matter what. And guess what happens to the average person? They'll go talk to the next person instead of going like this. They didn't join, they didn't buy, I didn't say it right, I didn't close it. The craziest thing you can learn how to do in network marketing is close. Okay, that isn't a hard thing to do. It isn't a hard thing, because you think your closing ability is going to get them. Well, if your closing ability's got to get them, then guess what? Their closing ability's got to get the next person, and that person's got to have the closing ability. That's not what it's about. That's not anything but addition at best.
I think for me, so many times people ask us, why are you guys still doing this? Yeah. Why are you still involved? We get that so much. Why did we start our Wealth Building Academy? We could be doing so many other things. But I think at the end of the day, I think for me, the magic is whenever I hear the stay-at-home mom. Like we're working with a group over in the UK and Ireland, actually. And we've been working with them for 90 days, and most of them are moms on a mission kind of deal. And so many of them were really beat up. They started to lose their belief that they weren't good enough. They weren't tall enough. They didn't have what it takes and they didn't like what they were doing anymore, because all of these techniques were being driven at them and they didn't feel good about it. And so whenever, started working with Larry, and just to see their eyes light up, I love what I'm doing again. People that hadn't had new customers, or they hadn't brought new people on, and they felt excited about what they were doing. And they were like, thank you so much for sharing that with me. And so I think ultimately, like, paying our experience forward, or, sharing just the things that we've learned. I mean, I learned 28 years ago, if I was standing before you with two briefcases, and one had $1 million in it, and the other one had a set of skills, which one would you choose? The average person would say, oh, could choose the $1 million, right? But the only way that would have value to you is you would have to spend it. Well, once you spend it, then what? But if you choose the skills, and learn the fundamentals, and you learn that, then you can learn how to make $1 million, right? The only way you could use the skills, you can make $1 million. If you can make $1 million once, you can make $1 million repeatedly. And so I think the magic for me is really being able to pour in our experience, share those skills to where people are like, thank you so much. I think that's probably the biggest reward. There's really not a lot of money that ties that equates to that feeling, is whenever you have that mom who's hated what she's done before, and now she loves it again. That's exciting.
And when they get excited, Adam, about themselves, because when we're talking about the briefcases, that skills here and $1 million, okay? That $1 million is just a figure that we're using as a description, okay? That doesn't have to be $1 million. That can be a consistent $500 or $1,500 a month, and enjoying the lifestyle that you have, going to the soccer games, being involved with the family. That is a $1 million value that only you are going to assign what that $1 million means, okay? Yeah. Because we come in from the outside, and you got to drive the car that I drive. You got to make the money that I make. You got to go to the south of France the way that I do. Then you're called successful. That's the way you get people to come up with self-doubt, self-worry, okay? Fear that they're not tall enough, they're not short enough, they're not young enough, they're not old enough. If that was passed on to me 53 years ago like that, I would still be in construction work. Every one of these contributors in a book would still be there, because that's not what this is about. Taylor was talking about Jeff Roberti here, the #1 as a distributor, has earned over $100 million. Nobody's earned that kind of money, okay? Guess what? Jeff Roberti is a very, very close personal friend of our entire family. But I'm going to tell you right now, Jeff Roberti doesn't operate as a 5%er all the time, okay? Nor does Arnold Schwarzenegger, okay? Current life circumstances doesn't mean that you can't. It means that you can, based on your desire and your willingness. Because of teachability, there's only a few simple things to learn. And I hope that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. I mean, it sounds like for you, Larry, it's about personal growth and the evolution that you've gone through by learning these skills. And Taylor, it sounds like the fulfillment that you get from having an impact on other people is really, what makes it satisfying for you. And neither of those are financial in and of themselves. It sounds like the money is the side effect of doing something yes. that comes from a different place. And I think perhaps, I don't know, because I'm not in that industry, but for those people only in it for the money, they're probably going to come across in a less sincere way, perhaps more transactional, and therefore don't get the results. So, almost ironically, those in it for the money are probably going to make less money because their motives aren't really aligned with something, different. You mentioned the book, obviously, throughout the interview here. If people are listening right now and they want to get hold of the book or learn more about your business, the Wealth Builders Academy, where can they go to find out more information?
So they would just go to themillionairetraining.com. So that's themillionairetraining.com. We're going to be launching a free book club in January, but it takes them right through. They can go and purchase the book if they want. They don't have to have the book to be in the book club. If they can connect with us. We're going to be doing really talking about these principles, these concepts, and how they can implement it, whether it's just with their life or within their business. It doesn't matter. They can, and then it talks about our academy. If they want to be, if maybe they're in network marketing currently right now, they can go to wealthbuilding.pro, and we have an online self-taught academy that we work with. Doesn't matter what product, company, service, it's completely generic, and we teach these principles.
I'm really excited about the most exciting thing I've been in years is the Millionaire Training book club that we're starting in January. Okay, obviously people are going to buy the book and be in there, and that we want them to have this as a resource for themselves. But we're going to have a podcast kind of like this, and we're going to have different people that we've worked with over the years, and it's going to be an open, interactive forum, and we're going to be talking about these things. Okay. Boy, that's powerful. Very, very powerful, because it's pinpointed. It's not abstract. It's very, very focused. And people, I was looking at some of the comments today from people that sent in about the book, and they said, I cannot believe the simplicity. My whole vision has changed. And another lady says, listen, I've just been 3 weeks now into the book, and this has happened and that's happened. Listen, you don't get that from techniques, where to go and what to do and what to say. You get affected by, wait a minute. What is it? What if there's only a half a dozen things I got to know? What if that? And that can serve me in whatever business I am, whatever product I have, whatever service I have. That can affect me with my marriage. That can affect me with my kids, because these are very, very simple things. It would not be timeless. It would not have the effect that it's had if it wasn't timeless, and it's always going to work every single time. And it's there. And I'm so grateful that, and people, Taylor is saying, why do people always have, what do we do? We do this, and I do it primarily because I know the difference in my life. And I know that the difference isn't Larry Thompson. I know I'm not, I don't have to, I know that I took a half a dozen things that were taught to me, and it changed my life in every area of my life. And I know that for the last almost 53 years, I've been able to see it do the same for other people. I'm passionate about it because I know it's there, and I know it works, and it is timeless.
And I think it's timeless because you're right. It's based on principles rather than techniques. And I think that's really the essential part. So definitely check out that website, check out that book. Larry, thank you so much. Taylor, thank you so much. It's been a privilege to interview you both. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
We love working in the United Kingdom. Okay.
Fantastic. And to you at home, thanks for joining me on Modern Mindset. See you again soon for more.